comes a new challenger.
What's up, YouTube? ChallengerTCG is back again for the second part of our set review. We're now going to be starting with the domains. We just finished the Legends and Sig spells, so if you missed that, go check out part 1. Or if you're here to just check out your favorite color, which is Fury, then this is the video for you. We're going to be starting off with card number 1, Arena Kingpin. For 5 energy, this is a 3 might unit that says, I enter ready, and you can exhaust it to give a unit plus 3 might this turn. We'll start with Collin. What do you think about this one, Collin?
This is just the classic pack filler that we expect to see in pretty much every card game. You know, it has to happen, but there's nothing really interesting that this guy does. He is essentially just a Heart of Dark Ice that also coincidentally just dies to Falling Star or Piercing Light or a Stiff Breeze pretty much in base. I will say that the enters ready text can somewhat be relevant as just a way to like accelerate it into a battlefield if you really need to, but I don't know. Whenever I see cards of this cost in Fury, I compare it to Kaiser Survivor, and then I'm like, okay, well, this guy's probably not making the cut then. So I'm gonna give him let's give him a 3. So maybe there'll be some use case for a tap to give plus might at some point in the future.
Alex, any thoughts?
No, I just think that there's a lot of, even though like entering ready is actually kind of nice on a guy like this, just having the versatility of either giving a pump or being able to attack, like doubling as a body. I just think for his cost, like if this guy costed 4, maybe I could see it, but 5 cost is very expensive. I don't think I have much to add on this. I don't think he's like awful under the premises that he does enter ready, but I just think the 5 cost really, really kills him. And I don't foresee this ever seeing any play whatsoever. I'm going to go with a 3 as well.
Yeah, I think 3 all around is pretty good for this guy. He's a 3. He gives plus 3. He gets all 3s. I do think, yeah, like we said, that line of text is pretty good. Might be solid in your limited, like if you just need an accelerated unit, try to score that last point or something, or just, you know, get to even points. Maybe this guy will do that for you, but 5 energy is still a lot, even for that, I think. All right, next up we've got Inferna. For 2 energy, this is a 1 might unit with Ambush, which is one of the new mechanics where you can play it as a reaction to a battlefield where you have units. And it also has Assault 2. Alex, what do you think about this one?
I actually think this card's pretty decent. It's not like in the like top tier of turn 2 plays, like say like maybe Lonely Poro or like Treasure Hunter or Arena's biggest fan, but I do think that this card is actually kind of solid. Like it just being able to attack as a 3 might. It's like a slightly worse Daring Poro, but with the upside of Ambush. But even Daring Poro's all right. I like this card. I think it's decently solid. I think the Ambush will come up some amount of time, and at the very worst, you do still get a 3 might attacker. So when you go second, if they come in with a 2 might, you can always threaten coming over the top of that. I think this card's like a 5. I think it's a 2-drop. I could see Fury Domain playing.
Collin, what about you?
I think it's a little bit stronger than that. I think this is probably closer to a 6. I don't think it's like crazy by any means, but when it comes to, I think it's one of Fury's best 2-drops, as what you're really looking for out of 2-drops in this game, or something that you can play on turn 1 and not feel terrible about it, and then later in the game it has some additional utility. And I think this card kind of fulfills that as well as Fury is going to do. So
yeah, I really like the utility of the card for sure. I mean, we remember Blood Rush was seeing some amount of play. This is like almost Blood Rush. This is basically a cleave, except it comes with a body. So I think that that's pretty good. You can even ambush it reactively if you really needed like plus 1 might. So I think it has some cute edge case uses where the ambush is actually a really relevant line of text. I tend to agree more on probably giving it a higher score, so I'm probably going to go with a 6 as well. Next up, we've got Mischievous Mirai, another 2-drop with 2 might, and this one has Hidden. When you play me to a battlefield, deal 2 to an enemy unit here. Collin, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, going to like 2-drops with additional utility. Technically, this fits the bill, but it's obviously significantly worse. This does kind of what they have decided is the right amount for hidden cards, which is usually 4 damage of some sort. Has kind of been the consistent thing that we've seen across the board with Teemo, Blasco Faye, and now Monsieur Marai. That seems to be about how much of a might swing they're hoping out of hidden cards. It's just kind of a consistent 4. But this one doesn't do it particularly great, given that it only does 2, and then it just comes in as a 2 might body. I think they're just typically going to be better 2-drops that are played. Obviously, Teemo being the main hidden deck, we don't really have a Fury deck that's kind of reliant on hidden cards yet. So I think it's going to be a while until this card sees any level of play. That being said, hidden is a powerful keyword. It's still a 2 for 2. So I'll probably give it like a 4, because maybe there'll be some meta in which this card will become relevant.
Alex?
I do think the goalpost for 2-drops has moved a little bit, so the way I evaluate them has to kind of change a little bit too. So whereas the previous one I gave a 5, but maybe a set ago would have been a 6. This one, as the 2-drop space has grown more and more competitive, I know typically we're supposed to rate these cards in a vacuum. However, I do think with the goalpost changing a bit, I rate this card lower because the slot is getting a lot more competitive. Whereas, like, this is a card in set 1 that might even have been playable. Whereas now I don't think there's any reason to consider this card whatsoever, even if you needed the extra hidden, even for this upside utility. So I'm going to give this card a 3. I don't think it's very good. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is supposed to be Pike support to like hide it, bounce it back, keep hiding it. But dealing 2 with a 2 might unit is just going to be scaled. It's going to be outscaled very quickly. So yeah, I mean, this is basically only going to be doing anything in the first couple turns of the game. And if this is your turn 1 play, you don't want to have just like a handful of turn 1 plays. Ideally, you want to mulligan some of those. So like, you're not trying to really hold these to like hide them with your another turn 1 play. So it just feels a little bit awkward, but I do think, yeah, like a 3 or a 4 is fine. I'll give it a 4. Next up, we've got Prepared Neophyte for 3 energy. This is a 1 might unit that says if you spent 4 energy or more to play a spell this turn, it has +4 might. Alex, thoughts?
I mean, this is like fine. Like it's a 5. It's a potential 5 for 3. Like I can see where this is actually kind of decent if you're going to make a board clear, where you're just like, okay, I'm gonna maybe kill a guy in the back and then come over the top on a guy on the battlefield, and now the threat of being run over on the crackback is much less because they don't have any units. I actually think this card reads kind of decent. That being said, I think this card will receive close to 0 play. Even if I do kind of like just knowing how this game works and how combat works in this game and everything else. I do like this card because it also fits in the curve well. But I don't think this will see very much play just because there are a lot better things you can do on 3 or a lot of extra skip 3 altogether to play 4. Especially if this is intended to be a Jhin card, since Jhin will likely, I mean, going second, you could play this and then they play a spell the next turn. But yeah, I don't think this will see a lot of play, even if I like it. I'm going to give this card a 5, and that's probably generous considering how much play it'll actually see.
Collin?
Yeah, I think that it being like a 3-drop puts it in a very awkward spot. In that it's got to be able to contend with 4-drops in a lot of spots. And I don't know, I just feel like these cards are designed in such a weird way where they're obviously meant only to break in and then not do much outside of that. In like a Jhin deck, I guess in theory you could use it to break a battlefield, and then so long as you cleared their base, then you'll be able to retreat it out and do it again. So that part, I guess, is a little bit nice, but you're putting in a lot of effort to get not a ton of payoff, especially given that Jin's like signature spell is like one of the main things you want to trigger. It could just neg might at a battlefield anyways. So I don't really expect this to see any play pretty much ever. I'm going to be a little bit harsher on it. I'm going to give it like probably a 3. I just don't think this card's very good.
Yeah, I'm also very low on this card. I do think like we said, the break-in potential is decent, but like most 3-drops do die to Falling Star, but this thing even dies to like Bellows Breath. and it's just going to, like, anything's going to clear this. And if you've spent 4, like, if you do go best case scenario of you played this on turn 1 going second, then you played your 4-drop spell, you cracked over something, like Collin said, ideally, yes, you cleared something in the back so they don't have anything to swing on you, but if they do have something like an ambush unit or anything, like, this thing is going to just die really easily. It's not going to be able to trade with anything. Just feels like a really awkward design. I'm also very low on it. I'm going to probably give it like a 3. Next up, we've got Revna the Lore Keeper for 7 energy and a power. This is a 7 might unit with ganking that says when you play a spell, if you spent 4 or more, ready me. Start with Collin.
This is like I don't know. They have like, it seems like a slew of 7 for 7s with the power costs that are supporting all of the archetypes in this set. And as opposed to the previous set where there were 5 for 5s. I think these maybe are a little bit better, but it's still like this is not really enough of an effect to make it worth it. It does have some cuteness of like if you untap on with this on 8 energy, you can live the dream of sending it into one battlefield, clearing it, ganking over to the or casting a spell, gank over to the other, cast another spell, return it home to keep it a little bit safe. But it seems so very, very slow with that. Like if you aren't playing it specifically on curve, either turn 3 going second or turn 4 going first, then it's one of these cards that's just going to sit dead in your hand for the majority of the game. I guess technically at 11 you could like play it and immediately ready it for 4 with a forecast spell, but I don't think any of that is really consistent enough for it to be a card that people are really looking at. So we'll give it a 4, just because I think it's theoretically possible that this card sees play at some point in time, does something unique and interesting. So I think a 4 is warranted for that.
I'm harsher on this card. I think the expectations for that they've set for 7 costs are higher. What those need to be to see play in this game is very, very high. This card, it's slow. It's slow as molasses. I mean, it's nice. Like you're rarely going to ready this in the same turn that you play. You need 11 to do that. It still costs a power, which I mean, like this is a card that easily could have just not cost a power. This is what I talk about when I say like they need to pay better attention to what they're giving a power cost to. I just don't see how this card is good. It doesn't even have like something like this that's like so stiff and slow. I'd want like deflect on it at the very least, but instead it just has ganking. I actually am of the opinion, given that this card's cost, its power cost, its energy cost, I think this card sucks for a 7. Like it's not even above rate stats. It's still just a 7 for 7. They couldn't even make this guy 8 might. I'm going to give this card a 2 out of 10. I think this card sucks. I don't like it. I think it's terrible. It's like almost a vanilla in my mind.
Yeah, I definitely agree that the card should have had deflect. That was like one of the first things when I saw it. I'm like, man, we got so many new bounce spells in this set, like that make big guys already feel so bad to play, and then this thing doesn't even have like any kind of protection. I think no power, it still probably would have needed to deflect even with no power, but for a power, you should definitely be forcing your opponent to be paying a power to target this, I feel like. I do think its effect will probably happen a few times, and like it's just a really big Darius when that's happening, and that's like a decent card, send it to a battlefield, or if it's already in a battlefield, gank to the other battlefield, then play your big spell, bring it home. It seems like it has some okay play patterns, but overall it's pretty underpowered. I'm pretty low on it as well, like the other guys, so I'm gonna give it a 3. All right, next up we've got Sharkling for 3 energy. This is a 1 might unit with Accelerate, and it has Assault 4. What do you think, Alex?
I think it's kind of in the trend of the same as the other guy we did, where it gets +4 when you have a spell, but this does it automatically. And if I didn't hate that guy, I probably can't hate this guy. I actually think this card is all right. Again, I don't know if it'll see any play, but I do think this card is like kind of decent. As far as a 3 goes, I mean, you're going to come over the top of... I think what I like the most about this card, truly, is that this guy swallows the 4 for 4s. And that's what I like the most about him, is that you're going to put him in play, and he's going to come right over... He's going to threaten any 4 for 4 that they might want to come in the battlefield with, and he can just kind of stay back there and come over the top. And then, like, Accelerate's just icing on the cake in my mind. So as far as threes go, I just think this guy being a counterplay to the 4 for 4s is kind of what kind of props him up a bit. Do I know if this will see any play? No. Threes have to be very powerful to see play right now, as we've discussed. Most of the time, you'd rather play twos than just fours. So threes are just kind of in this weird spot. But I think the Accelerate does make him a little bit more palatable. I like this guy, though. I like what he has to offer. I just think the number required of a 3, like a 3 has to be like a 7 or greater to see play right now. And I think this guy is right at the threshold where I think he's like a 6. I like him. I really do. And I think I could see him being playable. It's just that, like I said, threes are just so awkward.
Yeah, I can kind of agree. Like I think he's a little bit better than the previous guy. Functionally the same card, except it doesn't have any sort of additional requirement in order to get to that 5 might threshold whenever you're entering combat. Obviously, if this guy tries to go to a battlefield that there isn't something at, he doesn't get the +4 notably, so he could die to a few more spells, but that's really the only downside. And having Accelerate tacked on there is quite a substantial upside. So this card's definitely better. I'm still pretty unsure as to if it will see any level of play, but I'll give it a 5. I think it's a fine card.
Yeah, card's a 5 for me as well. I think, like you guys said, like this is basically much better than the other guy in my mind. Like, yes, there's a couple of niche scenarios where the other guy's better, mainly like the fact that I guess you could like play a 4-cost spell on your opponent's turn to pump it up, whereas this guy is always just defending for 1 no matter what. But the +4 for free is really nice. I think 5 is good. All right, next up we've got Smite, the iconic League of Legends spell for junglers. 2 energy and a power. This is an action speed spell that says deal 3 to a unit at a battlefield. If it would die this turn, banish it instead. Colin, what do you think of Smite? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this is.
Can I take point on this one?
Sure.
Go for it, Alex.
My prayers to Ferris Forerunner have finally been answered. Even if it's not exactly what I wanted, we finally have a way to deal with that awful, awful nuisance known as Ferris Forerunner, reasonably in a color that is not purple. My God, I'm so happy to see it. I'm a little upset that this card cost a power. I do not think this card had to cost a power, given what all the other 2-cost spells that we've seen in this game do. However, I do actually like this card a lot. I do think it's very good. It's like half of a falling star, which is why, again, like I don't know that I guess like maybe that was the reason for making it cost power, but it can only hit guys at a battlefield. God, I can't say enough how much I wish it didn't cost power. However, I do actually like this card. I do think this card has some upside, especially because it says if it would die this turn. It doesn't say if it would die from this spell. So you can hit it with the smite, and then your guy can crash into the Forerunner, and it will lose its abilities. But that's also true of any other of the death knell effects. You don't have to necessarily kill it with this spell. So I do like Smite. I think Smite is solid. How much play Smite will receive, I can't say for certain. I guess it just depends how much Death Knells and Red matter. I know for me, being a Rek'Sai player, this card will definitely be somewhere in my 48 more than likely if I'm worried about Ferris Forerunner, which I certainly am. But I'm going to give, all that being said, I'm going to give Smite actually a 6 out of 10. I know it sounds like I was going to give it a much higher number than I did. It's the power cost that really brings it back. If this card didn't have a power cost, I would say this card's like an 8 out of 10, but the power cost is just such a drag. So, yeah. But I love this card. I really do. I think this card's great.
Yeah, it definitely has some unique utility that we haven't really seen before. So I do think it could have been a little bit better, but I think this is probably right about where spells should be. It's just, you can pair it to Hextech Ray, and most of the time the banishing isn't going to matter that much. But if it does, then it obviously has a ton of utility. But doubling the cost in order to have that is quite a substantial jump, especially without removing that power cost. So for Alex's sake, I'll give it a 6 as well.
No, don't hold back. Don't tell me how you really feel.
I just feel like this is it's a lot of cope, to be honest.
It might be a little bit of cope on my end. I understand this is effectively worse hex tech Ray. I still like. I really wish I could like put the devs through a class that's like Alex's class of how do we know to give this card a power cost or not. And I'll have like this slide sheet prepared where I force them all. If you're a new dev at Riftbound, I force you to go through my power cost class on how to determine whether or not, because I don't believe whatever cost curve they have to determine whether something has a power cost is working. I think it's just like wildly inaccurate. I feel like it's like almost like a roulette wheel or darts at a board or something. So
okay, then I'll give it what I truly think of this card, which is like probably a 4, to be honest with you. I don't think this card is very good, and whenever I see stuff like this where you have to combine it with other actions and then hope your opponent doesn't play around it in order for it to work out, where like, you know, you have to play this plus an additional spell or play this plus run something in, and then if I'm able to end combat in any way, then I just heal the damage back. And yes, it does have the if it would die, banish it this turn sort of clause there, so you could try and break it again, but at this point you're just committing so many resources in order to doing this. I think we just needed a little bit of a cleaner answer, given that you have to do it in such a way that, like, if we're trying to kill a Forerunner in combat, for example, with this plus sending in like our Phoenix, we'll say, then you have to play this first, then send the Phoenix in. If you could do it the other way around, then it would be at least a little bit better, because then you wouldn't be able to stop that from happening with action speed spells. But yeah, I just think it's a bit of a cope for and won't really see a ton of play in my mind. But maybe I'll be proven wrong. That's just my gut reaction when I see this card, though.
I tend to lean more towards Alex's interpretation, but I do agree with Collin that I don't know that this card's going to see a lot of play right now. I do think, like, if we get more, as we get more and more good Death Knells, I could see this card starting to actually see some sideboard play. I doubt we'll ever have it see main board play unless, like, the format is literally, like, all just crazy Death Knells. Then you might actually have this card start to find its way into main boards, but I do think it's a little bit better than a 4. I'm probably in, like, the 5 or 6 camp. I'll just go in the middle and give it a 5. Next up, we've got Towering Paraphant. This is a 6 energy for 6 might with Assault 1, and it says, if a unit died this turn, I enter ready. We'll go with Collin this time.
I think there are a few cards this set that I did not realize they even printed or existed. This is one of them. I think that there are situations where this card could be good. That being said, this is clearly just like limited fodder, and I just don't think that you're ever in a position when you're looking at all of the powerful 6 drops, like, compare this card to Ferris Forerunner, and while yes, it does a different thing, like, in Constructed, are you really going to be playing a Towering Pyrophant for the one situation that might be relevant? I'm gonna give it I'll give it a 2. Slightly better than the worst card I've ever seen, but this card I'll never see play.
Yeah, I'm there with you. Like, even if you take like the 5s, like compare this to Darius, compare this to Ferris Forerunner, compare this to Brynhir Thundersong. He even does something similar to Darius, and it's just like Darius does this a turn earlier with a restriction that I would argue is actually less. I mean, granted, Darius can't do it on 5 unless you have a 0 cost card like a Seal, but like I would argue that Darius does this a little easier than this card does this. Having a guy die is like kind of unideal, to be honest. Like, it's like kind of annoying to do. Yeah, this guy doesn't cost power, but who gives a shit if it doesn't actually come in play ready? Otherwise, this is just a terrible 6 for 6. So yeah, I'm with Collin here. I'm going to give it a 2. It is maybe not slightly better than the worst card I've ever seen. That award probably goes to Prize of Progress, and this card is certainly better than that, but not by a whole lot, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's just limited pack filler stuff. It'll swing for slightly above its rate. It doesn't cost power, so like, yeah, just play this in your sealed deck and never anywhere else. All right, next up we've got Upstage Comedy for 2 energy. This is a spell with repeat 2, and it says ready a unit. Alex?
I mean, as a man who enjoys Wallop, I can't really it's hard for me to say this card is unplayable. I think this card is like, it's a movement tech, which just means a card that untaps things in a color that doesn't traditionally have movement techs. So I kind of like it in that regard. It has given something to this color that it doesn't have otherwise. That being said, I don't think it's incredible by any means. It does kind of fit in the Jin theme. It works with the chosen champ. That's obviously the intent of this, to ready multiple units. I don't know if it's like, I'm sure this could see play somewhere because this color doesn't have, they don't really have a first mate. So I do kind of like that about this card. I think it's just like fine. It's kind of like a utility piece. I would give this card just, let's say, a 5 out of 10. And that's a little biased because I know this color doesn't really have anything else like this. There's not really like, they have a lot of units that can enter ready or can attack immediately, but they don't have anything that readies a unit per se, I don't think. So yeah, I'll give this card a 5. I think it's fine.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I do think that like you have to take cards like this to be a little bit better because, like Alex said, this is an effect that this color does not traditionally have. So even if it is theoretically worse than like a first mate, for example, then it's still worth considering in your decks that just don't have access to a first mate, especially if you don't want to have to play that color in order to get an effect like that. So I think a 5's fine. I don't know how regular we'll see this card, but just the fact that this card exists gives a lot more utility to Fury as a whole. So I'm glad this card exists, even if it's one that we don't seeing play anytime soon.
Yeah, I think one of the first things that comes to mind for me seeing this in Fury is just like, oh, well, now you have, 2-cost Vi plus this. So any Fury deck, you don't need just like Vi plus, but you had Bushwhack, I guess, but this doesn't cost you any power. This has more utility than Bushwhack in that you can actually like do the first mate thing. Like Collin mentioned, you can retreat a unit, play this, or even retreat 2 units, repeat this, and now you got a double first mate. You can conquer on the other side with both of those. Like, this just has a lot of utility, and it's a slightly cheaper, if you're just readying 1 unit, it's a slightly cheaper first mate, which is probably really strong, even though it doesn't come with the might. I like 5 for this card. I think it's probably going to see play at some point, even if it's just like a one-of for Vi combos or something. All right, next up we've got Vault Breaker for 1 energy and a power. This is a spell at action speed that says give a unit assault 2 and ganking this turn. Thoughts?
Yeah, I guess this is probably supposed to be some sort of weird Vi support, maybe, where you like come in and, God, this card costs a power too. I'm not even going to try and pretend like this card is going to do much of anything. Like, if you're looking for ganking, then you can just play Gem Jammer, and then it's like an actual 2 for 2. If you're looking for Assault, you can play Cleave, and both of those cards don't cost you a power. So I don't think the fact that it gets combined here makes this card particularly worth ever doing. So I'm going to give it a 2. I was this close to giving it a 1 in my mind, but it does technically do things unlike some of the other ones that we've done. But man, like, this is one of those situations where typically if you combine 2 cards together, then that card is typically very good. This is one where I would just be like, no, yeah, this card is so bad, I'd rather just play the split versions and just play 3 Cleaves, 3 Gem Jammers in my deck, rather than paying a power for this card.
I'm not quite as harsh as Collin. I do think the power cost makes this card utterly unplayable. I do think this card is dog shit. However, where I will disagree with Collin is I do like the utility of having both in one. I think that's like reasonable, even though it does cost a power. All that being said, this card is probably a 2, and I think Collin was being a little generous. Maybe it should be a 1 in that regard. So yeah. But I do think Collin was being harsh at the same time, in that this is maybe it's a low, maybe it could be a high 2, like a gentleman's 2.
Gentleman's right. 2. Yeah, it's a 2. This card sucks.
Gentleman's 2.
Yeah, this card sucks. All right, next up we've got Fresh Beans for 2 energy, this is a gear that says when you play a unit during a showdown, you may exhaust this to draw 1. Alex, what do you think about beans?
I mean, I love beans. Beans, the magical fruit. The more you eat, the more you toot. The more you toot, the better you feel. Let's have beans for every meal.
Well, that about sums it up.
Fresh beans. Yeah, fresh beans. This is a card I tried. It's an interesting draw engine, but it's like there's just not enough cards that play during the showdown right now. I actually do think this card could improve if there were more units that could play during a showdown. And it's also something to note that I learned while I was playtesting this. It's during a showdown, not units that start a showdown. So if you play Rengar or like Deadbloom Predator at 2A Battlefield and they start a showdown, you can't draw off this, which I think kind of hurts this a little bit more. I think this is like fine. It's just not great right now, but I do see the potential here to like maybe get better. It does provide a rare draw engine that we don't have a whole lot of in this game. Hopefully 10 minutes from this, 5 minutes from the time this recording is over, we will see bans that make it so that we have no draw engines left in the game, but hoping for the best here. But yeah, I think right now this card's not great, but I do see the room for improvement. I'm going to give Fresh Beans a 5. That's probably a little high, but I do see the potential for where this card can get good, especially in multiples when it's actually stacking and drawing a lot of cards. So, and it's called Fresh Beans. I like the name of it.
Yeah, I think a 5 is fine here. I do think that it currently probably doesn't have enough support, so I don't know if it'll see any play right now. But you know, these engine cards that just like need a few more ambush cards or things that can be put into play into a battlefield, I think is not too bad. And notably, you know, you can do some cute stuff like if you're going to play the 2-drop anyways, you can move into a battlefield and then during that showdown you can even play them base and they'll still trigger your beans. It's not like you have to play it in the battlefield, which I think is quite nice. So, yeah, I like this card. I'll give it a solid 5.
Yeah, I think 5 is good for the beans. I enjoy draw engines. I actually didn't realize until Alex just mentioned it that during a showdown thing, I also thought I would be able to just ambush something and draw 1. So that definitely hurts the card a little bit more in my mind. But I do still think it's a good draw engine. And as we get more support, or even just with some of the stuff we have now, like you might be able to make this work. But I would really think like the high ceiling of this card in my mind doesn't exist because we don't have a red-green champion, but like if I can like bring in a Janna and draw a card, that seems sweet. Next up is Lord Broadmane. For 5 energy and a power, this is a 5 might unit with ambush. When you play me, give your other units here assault this turn. Colin, what do you think of this card?
Yeah, this is one of their classic 5 costs and the power for 5 mites that has some theoretical upside that will never come to fruition so long as Singularity and Falling Star exists. I guess being able to ambush, you could like maybe use it to win a combat, but it's so... This is just like such a weak effect that we're essentially just like a 5 for 5 vanilla with ambush. I think this card's terrible. We'll never see play. I'm gonna give it a 2.
Yeah, I mean, for a power, this could have easily given your other units +1 might. Just pump them permanently. Like, why does it have to be on attack? I think that this is another classic case of the devs think the game plays one way and the game actually plays a very different way, where it's kind of like people are not attacking with like 4 units at once unless it's a swing for game, or you're playing miracles, which, like I said, hopefully in the next 3 minutes will be no more. So like, and I can assure you that miracles does not need the assistance of this card to be good. So I'm going to go with Collin here. This is another 2 for me. I mean, I think this card is abysmally unplayable. Even if this card did not cost a power and said it gave the +1 might buff, it still probably would only be maybe a 5 for me. This card is just hot ass.
Yeah, the card's definitely pretty bad. I do think in limited, this will probably... I think most ambush cards in limited will probably have a decent play rate, just because like you'll be able to, you know, swing with something and then you bring this guy in to add 5 more might to that combat, plus he's adding 6 technically if you swung in with at least one other thing. So like it seems like an okay combat trick specifically in limited, but it'll never see play in constructed. It's, yeah, a 2 is fine. And next up we've got the Lotus Trap, a 2 energy spell with hidden and reaction It says choose a unit, double all damage that would be dealt to it this turn. Collin, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is combine it with Smite, and you can actually kill Ferris Forerunner, assuming they don't have any sort of buffs at all. So, um, but yeah, outside of that, I don't really understand what this is for. Having to use 2 cards to take out a single thing, especially because like we're gonna have to use a lot of energy when cards like Vengeance exist. I don't really see this having any application. The only thing I can maybe think of isn't decks like Aurelia or Orin that try to make like one huge guy and they can sideboard in a Lotus Trap in order to answer the boggle, as it were, so to speak. So for that reason, it has some level of utility, I suppose. So I'll give it a 3. But all those boggle decks will always end up historically being green and have access to Defy and Not So Fast and all that sort of stuff. So I don't think this will ever really make the cut. But it technically does something unique. That is why I'll give it a 3. Just in case there's a situation where I'm really looking to just kill one specific dude in particular.
So I'm gonna give this the first one we're gonna see on the stream. I'm gonna give this a 1. This is one of the worst cards ever printed. I do not. You're just doubling down on any guy. So 1, if it's a guy with deflect, all right, now you've already got to pay the extra deflect cost. I do not understand what the point of the hidden is. I guess playing this for 2 sucks, so you'd rather play it for a power, but that also sucks too. So I think this might quite literally be one of the worst cards ever printed in Riftbound. Maybe that's a stretch, but I do not understand. I guess it can make your smaller units trade up, so maybe it's not so bad in that regard. Because I guess it does like upgrade your units. It's like a spell with your units. So I'll give it a 2 for that reason, I guess, because it does work with units. It's not as bad. It's not just spells. But I do think this card is pretty much atrocious. I do not see the application of this anywhere, to be quite honest. I don't know why this doesn't choose why doesn't it choose 2 units? Then it'd be decent. Like, you play this, then Fallings. Like, I don't know. This just seems awful to me. Yeah, 2 is fine. I'm being generous. I'll give it a 2.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way that you think this card is a Petricite monument or a prize of progress.
No, you're right.
Obviously,
I thought about it after.
Yeah, obviously this card's terrible, but like there are theoretical use cases for this card that maybe will happen at some point in the future. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna be the hot take here and I don't think this card's actually as bad as you guys are making it out to be. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's very bad. I think it's like a 5 for me.
5?
5?
Yeah.
I was considering making this a 2, and I was
bro,
like,
how many times you get that pen?
That's a 5.
Oh my god.
So yeah, I think
God,
that this card has the hidden ability, like Alex mentioned earlier, is like you can hide this with like a Noxus Hopeful, and now if they're trying to swing over him with like a 6, 7, 8 might unit or something, it just trades with that unit. You can also combine it with like Falling Star to kill like 12 might units. I feel like I think that the card just has a few cute applications that could be pretty good, and it has multiple modes because of the hidden and stuff like that. Like I could maybe see this card sneaking in as like a one of into maybe a Jin or Kaisa decks.
I mean, I'm
We'll see.
Yeah, we will see.
Next up, we've got Monster Harpoon for 1 energy and a power. At action speed, this deals 2 damage to a unit at a battlefield. If you control a face down card, deal 4 to it instead.
So I mean, it's kind of like a Hextech Ray that has upside and downside. I think it's just strictly worse. I think I'd rather be in the middle with no condition. It still costs a power, which I mean, it probably has to be honest. I actually think this card would be pretty solid if it was just 2 damage for 1. It'd be the only 2 damage for 1 we have, just the only shock we'd had so far. Unfortunately, they had to make it cost a power, and I just don't think you can justify playing something like this, especially since you need a face down card. I don't know. I think this card is not great. It could be worse, but I'm going to just go ahead and give this card a 4. I just think the requirements are too stringent, and most of the time I'd rather just play Hextech Ray if I was going to play this, which Hextech Ray doesn't even see that much play outside of Kaiser anyways.
Yeah, pretty much the same take. Although I think I'll probably give it a 3. I think these cards are just kind of mediocre at best when they cost a power, and like you have to weigh these sorts of effects, right? Where like they're supposed to be early interaction to slow your opponent down, but a power cost on something that is early interaction to slow your opponent down is like monumental over the course of the game, that this is going to cost me like 7 energy over the course of the game if I play this on turn 1 or 2 in order to kill my opponent's unit. Like, unless I'm Kaiser specifically, and Kaiser doesn't really do hidden cards at all, so it's just, as Alex said, a worse Hextech Ray. Maybe there'll be some world where everything is a 2 cost or 2 might unit, so the 2 damage is enough, but the second effect will never do anything, and this card will always be a strictly worse Hextech Ray.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add, but it's a 3 for me as well. I just think the card's pretty mid, or even lower than mid.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Rite of Conquest. For 3 energy and a power, this card reads, draw 1, then draw 1 for each battlefield you or allies control. Allies mentioned.
Yeah, the multiplayer format, it's kind of a 3 energy, draw 3. Notably, if you have the Baron Pit as well, then you could even draw 4 off this card. Or 5 in multiplayer.
Wow!
3 battlefields plus the Baron Pit. But, you know, a lot of those situations are very Winmore-esque. So I think that's where I find this card a lot of times. That being said, I could see this card seeing more play than most of the other cards that we've talked about at this point, just as a draw engine for the hyper-aggressive decks such as Darius. But obviously, we don't think Darius is a particularly strong deck. Just, you know, one that if you're able to control both battlefields and then play this to draw 3, then that's actually, you know, not the worst. There's also the battlefield that will give you an extra draw as well if you control both of them in set 2. So you could maybe do something like this to make things work. But yeah, I think it's overall probably not the greatest. I'll give it a 4. I think even in those decks, it's pretty situational, and I'd be surprised if this saw any level of competitive viability.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a 3. I just think this card is like, Riot has some weird thing where they're allergic to draws on spells, and they have to make it like so egregiously hard to draw cards off spells. But then when it comes to legends and battlefields, they're just like fucking never. You can draw for anything. Like you just like sneeze and you draw a card. So I don't really get it. Like, or you have cards like Herder where it's like great, but spells, for some reason, spells specifically, they absolutely hate to see these cards win with draws. I think this card is not great. Granted, I could see like maybe a hyper aggressive deck needs this as its only source to draw, but I don't buy it. I'm gonna give it a 3.
Yeah, ultimately the question comes down to it in the best case scenario, right? The absolute ceiling for this card, multiplayer aside, you're drawing 3 is drawing 3 cards for 3 energy and a power good. It's all right, maybe. It's like if
it's at that baseline, I don't even know that I would play this card in a lot.
Oh, you would certainly.
Probably play. Yeah, I'm sure. And if you're not paying the power cost, yeah. But if you're paying the power cost, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think you guys are underestimating it a little bit, or at least Alex is. I don't know what Anton's.
I'm more in the 4 camp as well, but I do think like yeah, it's just like I'm just trying to think of that for myself being the question of like if I'm getting the absolute ceiling, would I pay just for a draw 3? And it's like it's just right about there, right? It's like you're paying for draw 2 with like Consult the Past for 4. Nobody's pretty much casting Consult the Past in that way though. Like I guess if you look at Progress Day for double the energy, you're drawing only 1 additional card. So like people are playing Progress Day, but even then it's mostly being played in a deck that's not paying its power cost either. So yeah, I think 4 is fine for the card. Next up, we've got Scorch Claw for 3 energy and a power. This is a 3 might unit with Hunt 2, and it also has level 3. I have +1 might and Into Ready. I actually don't think we've mentioned Hunt yet. So for those of you who aren't aware, Hunt is part of the new XP mechanic. So you can gain experience through different abilities, one of them being this keyword Hunt, which is when I conquer or hold, you gain 2 XP. Any thoughts on this one, Alex?
My issue is kind of the same as like my complaints with Fiora. If you watch our tier list video, is Riftbound prints all these fair mid-range thingies that are like kind of cool. Like I actually think EXP and Hunt and all that is very cool mechanic, very well designed, very in flavor theme. Unfortunately, that's the 75% of any given Riftbound set, and the other 25% is what we actually end up playing, which is Aurora's 50 Might Miracle decks, Draven decks that are drawing cards, a billion cards a game, like Kaiser decks, just like it doesn't end up being the fair mid-range game that they seem to be intending. And unfortunately, Scorched Claw falls in the 75% of cards where it is trying to play this kind of fair mid-range. It's in a fair mid-range mechanic that I just don't think is great. We already have a 3 might for 3 that costs 1 power that can enter ready. Granted, this one has a condition, but it gets +1 might. But this guy having to pay power at baseline just makes him almost unplayable, in my opinion. Now, if this guy didn't cost power and the payoff for having this level 3 is that, okay, you have a ready unit that's 4 might for 3, that would be great. Like, it still wouldn't even be incredible. I'd say this card is probably like maybe at best a 6 out of 10. It would be a nice guy for the XP mechanic, but instead they put a power on him base, so he's like almost unplayable. I would give this guy a 3, and I'm probably being too generous.
Yeah, I think Alex is right on this one. I'm gonna give this guy. I'll give him a 3 as well. I suppose I was this close to giving him a 2.
Yeah, I'm very on the line with 2. Like I think this guy costing a power. Like if you're gonna have payoffs, you don't need to put the limit that every other guy at this cost already has. Like there's no reason to put the power cost when we already pretty much have this without a condition. Like forget the Hunt 2 and everything. Like this is just like we've put a requirement on a guy that's already overcosted. Even if this guy at a baseline, let's say he just came in play and as a 4 might 3 of entered ready, he'd be decent. Like he wouldn't be crazy. Nobody'd be like, ban this guy. He'd just be like, oh, this guy's a good card. Like a 4 might for 3 that enters ready. Like that's good. That's maybe a 6, maybe a 7, maybe. But now he's just a total loser.
Wait, you're saying if that was a level 3 ability, or if that was just its text?
If it was just baseline.
No, if it's text. It was just baseline. This card is a 4 might for 3 that enters ready.
I mean, that
this
would be broken. That card.
I don't even think so. I think
he said with no power
cost, no chance.
Yes, with a power.
Oh, with a power cost. Okay, no, it's not.
Yes,
broken.
obviously, if it didn't have a power cost.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It'd be the best 3-drop ever printed.
Yeah.
Like, no, but with the power cost, because like you don't want to play this. When are you playing this? Ask yourself. You're not playing this when you go second because okay, like I guess it can come in and capture. So maybe you are, but you have to pay power to do that. You're not killing anybody with it, so it entering ready is only just scoring you a point for a super aggressive deck. But you have to pay a power to do that. And then you go in, you tap yourself out, and if your opponent went first, which is implied here, they could just have any sort of trick that just comes back and makes their turn 1 guy trade over this, and now you're like back to square one. I'm just saying I don't think this guy sucks. That's where I'm going with this.
These designs are just very counterintuitive, where you're printing a card that wants to be played on turn 1, so you can benefit from the hunt, but you're also giving it a power cost. So playing on turn 1 just means, as I've said a million times, that you're just down 7 energy for the rest of the game for no real benefit. Additionally, where the reason I wanted to give this card a 2 is because Fury doesn't actually have any sort of level payoff legends right now.
Yep.
There's no EXP guys in Fury, so I don't know why this guy exists. So yeah. So yeah, you know what? Give him a 2 for me, Anton, just for that reason.
I'm giving him a 2 as well, just so you know. So yeah, I also don't understand why they made this card, given that exactly like Collin said, that was the main thing in my mind when I read this card. I was like, there's not even a red orange XP guy. So like literally, if you're just like, you have to be specifically building red orange XP, which is not a deck. It's questionable whether body XP is even a deck. at all, let alone red body XP, because like you don't even have a legend for that. So like I don't know who wants this card, what this card was printed for. But yeah, I mean, maybe in the future, even if we were to get a red and orange XP guy, I don't think you'd play this. Like like Collin said, like I just really don't think that all these first 4 sets were all designed together. So I expect we're gonna see this theme until we get past set 4. But like, yeah, being down, you just have to think of how much energy you lose across the course of a game. Like, just think of 7 energy across the course of a game. Is this the investment you want? This is the payoff for that? Like, this card is awful.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Square Up for 4 energy. This is a spell with repeat, and the repeat is discard 1. As we've mentioned, I believe, once before. This is the first set where now we've seen repeats where it's a different, it's not actually repeating the cost. So it's kind of curious that they chose to still call it repeat. Maybe it could have been called something different. But in order to repeat the spell, basically you pay this additional cost, which is discard 1. So it would be 4 energy and discarding a card from your hand. And you give a unit +4, assault 4 this turn. Collin, what do you think of this?
This card is absolutely terrible. I'm gonna have to speak to our community, seeing that average of a 4.6 right there. But I'm debating between a 1 and a 2. I think this card technically can do something. You can give multiple units the assault 4 in order to break in. So I'm gonna give it a 2. But like all these cards that just like get defied, and then they just do. You could just play like a Blood Rush for half the cost, and that's typically going to be enough in most instances. I think there was a Riftbound where this card would have seen play, but it's not one that just has access to Blood Rush. So yeah, a 2 it is for me.
I'm going to be a little less harsh and say a 3. I do see the merit of, although this is quite literally 2 Blood Rush shoved together, because normally the upside of this would be that you don't have to use 2 cards, but here you do actually have to use 2 cards. So this is quite literally just 2 Blood Rush shoved together, except at least Blood Rush has the utility of being able to distribute amongst 4 units however you choose. This can only do it amongst 2. So yeah, I guess it is just 2 Blood Rush. Like, it's, you don't have to draw both Blood Rush, I guess, but like I don't think it's awful. You do get to come over the top for +8, but like this is just Primal Strength at home. That's Primal Strength at home. Like, this is like effectively almost the same thing, except now it costs you a card instead of a power. I don't think this card is great. I think it could certainly be worse, but yeah, Defy is an issue. Blah 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 blah. Like, I'll give it a 3. I could see like where it's probably really good in draft. In draft, this card's got
insane and limited. I would imagine like +8 is a lot.
Yes, in draft,
and you have a bunch of chaff in your hand. Like,
I think this card could have easily been +4 might, but I guess then it would be too similar to Primal Strength, and they didn't want to do that. And Red's theme is Assault, so whatever. Fuck it. Here we go.
Yeah, I think like you said, like this just is Red Primal that doesn't cost a power. Yes, it's defiable. Overall, I think it's just mostly going to be a limited card. I would be pretty surprised to see this main deck play. I mean, maybe in like a sideboard if you're a red deck that really needs to go over big things, or like you just don't have an answer to like the Vilemaw or something. Maybe I'm like really trying to find some corner cases for this card, but it's like between a 3 or a 4 for me. I'll just land in a 3.
This card's not even an action, and you guys are giving it a 3. I was gonna give this card a 1. You know what? You guys pop off. Blood Rush is at least an action.
Yeah, man. +8, +8 haste as a closer just seems like it might be all right.
All right. You know what, dude? You do you.
Next up, we've got Yeti Brawler for 6 energy. This is a 6 might unit. When I conquer, if you assign 3 or more excess damage, play 2 gear gold tokens exhausted. What do you think, Alex?
Just another pack chaff card. It's going to just be a 2. There's not much to say about this. Like, you get 2 gold on 6. It's a 6 for 6. Like, with a little, it's like a 6 for 6 vanilla with some sprinkles on top. This is nothing. This is great. Another 6 for 6. Like, way to go.
Yeah.
Like, that's all this is to me. Like, there's nothing to talk about with this card. It just isn't good. End of story.
It's a 2 for me as well. I know this is like Vi's mechanic, but this payoff is certainly not worth it when to play a 6 for 6 vanilla. Like this card is awful.
Yeah, it's a 2 for me as well. It's just, if it was a vanilla, it would be a 1. It's just a vanilla with a line of text, so that barely makes it better than a 1. But yeah, it's not a good card.
I mean, it's not a Petricide Monument, so that's
Yes.
what I'm. It doesn't cost me a power, so it's not actively detrimental for me to play this card. It's only the saving grace.
Next up, we've got the Blighted Battle Axe, 4 energy gear with equip 1 energy and a fury power. And at the end of your turn, if you didn't conquer this turn, unattach this and deal 4 to me, and it's a +4 might gear.
This card is strange. It's if I didn't conquer this turn, so it's the unit has to be conquering with this thing, and it's very expensive for a +4 might. But that is a lot on defense, so maybe this card will have some sort of weird use case, just because you can make like one very large unit that's going to become a menace. Notably, it does have a few issues in that you can do this trick once where you conquer it and leave it there, but unless your unit has a way to move to the other side to conquer again, then you are going to get this detach effect, and then it's just not going to do anything on your opponent's turn. And so, yeah, I think it feels like this is supposed to be maybe for like the ganking Vi deck or something, but the Vi also has her signature cards, so I don't really know where this card's going to have a home. And my gut reaction is that it just won't. I think the fact that it only really ever works on its own is like a 1 turn thing. It needs a ton of support around it. I'll give it a 3. It could maybe be a 4 if you like put it on a ganking guy. Maybe put this on a Jin. You know what? I'll give it a 4. I'll be generous. Maybe this on a Jin is like okay. You can like play your Jin, and then afterwards you can move the Jin in. Play this, equip it with the energy and power that you got. It's maybe got some utility.
Yep, I'm gonna go with 4 as well. I see it on the same point that Collin made. I can see where this is decent on ganking units, especially one that has more than 4 might initially. So even if something does go wrong, it doesn't explode. But there's not a whole lot to say about this card. It's just a big weapon for ganking units. That's the way I view it.
Yeah, it really seems like Riot is like this +4 is where they're like, whoa, that's too much. Like, they give us so many really powerful +3s, but then like once it gets to +4, it's like Blade of the Ruin King. You have to sack a guy for +4, or you have to like detach and kill the guy that it was attached to. It's like, dang, like is +4 really, is that +1 might really pushing it that crazy that you feel like you need to add infinite downside to every +4? Whereas like BF Sword is +3 and has no line of text down there. Like, I don't know what this obsession with the 4 breakpoint being like, where they're like, whoa, it's too much might on an equip. But yeah, I do think +4 is a lot. So yeah, I can see this having, it's better than Bork. So that's saying something at least. A 4 is fine for it.
True.
4 for 4 for 4.
Yeah.
So 4s.
Yeah.
Jin.
Lots of 4s.
Yeah, Jin for sure.
Jin enjoyers are way up right now.
Speaking of Jin, we've got Dancing Grenade.
One. Next card.
We have
they
to
get
talk
a 1
about
just for
it.
how much of a fucking aneurysm this card is.
Okay,
to
this
read.
card is an
But
aneurysm to read.
1.
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely a fucking 1. Go ahead. You can read the text. I'll let you, and then I'll interrupt you.
Let's let our listeners who are just jamming this in their car or at work hear what the card does before we tell. Okay, so Dancing Grenade, 2 energy and a power. Deal 2 to a unit. This can be anywhere. Its controller may play this spell again. Keep this in mind. Its controller may play this spell again for a power. If they do, this deals 1 additional bonus damage for each time this spell has dealt damage this turn.
Yeah. So obviously
1.
that's the big thing, is that its controller may play this spell again for a power, meaning that you kill a 2 might guy for 2 energy and a power at not even action speed, and then if they want to, they can kill one of your own guys, and then it like can create this chain. In theory, this situation is never going to do anything. There's a theoretical world in the future where there's some sort of weird combo where just casting a spell by killing your own guy over and over again is good. until that world happens, this card is the most unplayable card we've seen so far, and it's definitely a 1.
Yep, it is a 1. It is just an aneurysm to read to. Its controller may pay 1 if they do this, deals additional bonus damage for each time the spell has been. Like, yeah, I understand what they're going for, but if you are a person who's never played TCGs before and you read this card, your brain might cease to function. Like, this is awful wording, awful effect. It's not action speed. It's not reaction. It costs you a power initially. You can't even just 2 mana, 2 damage. And your opponent will literally see this grenade hit them, bounce off, and be like, just kick it to the side. Like that's like, they're never going to bounce it back at you unless it's beneficial to them. Like maybe in flavor, this card was cool.
That's the only thing that this card has going for it.
Yes, in practicality, this card is pure horsecock. Just the absolute worst it could be. I like it's almost as bad as Petricide Monument. Like, it's not quite. Petricide Monument quite literally does nothing, where this card can deal 2 damage. So it does have that going for it. But It is probably worse than Prize of Progress. At least Prize of Progress makes a body. This costs me a power and 2 energy. So
yeah, and they can't even kill Prize of Progress. So
yes, it couldn't kill Prize. That is true. Who would win? Prize of Progress or Dancing Grenade? And Prize of Progress would win. So this is a fucking 1. Absolute dog piss. I don't know all the cards in the set off the top of my head, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is the worst one in it.
It's really sad, honestly. The worst thing about this card, like as Alex mentioned, the flavor. As a designer, I appreciate the flavor. I do think it's like cool what it does in theory. It just doesn't work. The execution did not work. The way that they worded it is terrible. The templating is bad. And yeah, it's just not a card worth playing. But the thing that bothers me the most about this card is that they put it in the rare slot. And I just think this is the worst rare to pull. Like, oh my god, this is my rare? Oh, disgusting. Next up, we've got Grim Apothecary. For 3 energy and 3 might, we have an ambush unit. When you play me, you may return a friendly unit at a battlefield to its owner's hand.
Yeah, it's worth noting that ambush has kind of been, as far as I can tell, it's like kind of errated. Where it's supposed to be 2 separate lines of text. The way it currently reads is you may play me as a reaction to a battlefield where you have units. From my understanding, given the way that the orange Ringar works, once we eventually get to that card, there are like 2 separate lines of text where this card always has reaction, and you can play it to battlefield where you have units. So yeah, when you play me effect is probably not super relevant. Maybe for like the Pike deck that's trying to bounce its units over and over again, there's some merit to that. Or, you know, you can use it to save a unit to go to hand rather than it dying to like a singularity or something like that. But it seems pretty rare that this card will be super relevant. That being said, it does have a little bit of utility. I think I'm gonna give it like a 5. It's doing something unique, which is more than we can say for pretty much every other card that we've seen in Fury so far.
Yeah, I actually like this card. I think it's kind of unique. Like Colin said, it's unique. I don't know how much play it'll see because this is kind of in the line of fair mid-range the game, and we're not playing fair mid-range the game. But I like that it can be ambushed to a battlefield, which is nice. You get to like, if you're a reactionary deck in red already, you have this piece where now you can play defense and offense, where like, okay, I have removal, so I can play removal if they come into me. If they're taking the removal stance with me, I can protect units that might be useful otherwise. I think this card has some utility to it because it can be played at reaction speed even when you don't control a battlefield and save guys. Maybe 3 was a little too costly. Like if this was a 2 might for 2, this card would obviously be insane. But being 3 makes it a little bit more, and 3 is a little bit harder to hold up. But I almost want to give this card a 6, even though I don't think it'll see very much play because I do like its effect. I'm going to give it a 6 just for the sake of being different here. But I don't think this card is awful. This would also be the first time we're somehow in line with our community average. Every other time we've been drastically lower than it, but this would be the first time that we're actually on point. So
I mean, it's hard
for us, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's hard for good for them, but I think it's hard for it's hard to not see this and just be like, oh well, this is a 3 for 3 with 2 lines of text. Like 3 for 3, no power, 2 lines of text. That's a pretty good card. That's not a champion unit, but like that's basically a champion unit's worth of text on a card that doesn't cost you a power and is on rate. So yeah, I think that it's a push 3-drop. It's pretty good. I don't know that its abilities are that strong, but I do think the ambush is definitely the one that's carrying the card a bit. I'm between a 5 or a 6 as well, but I'm gonna probably just lean more towards a 5. I wouldn't be surprised if this card at some point sees some level of play somewhere. It's definitely a solid limited card. It's very overpowered as a 3-drop. Next, we've got Jin, Murderous Artist. For 4 energy and a power, this is a 4-might unit with deflect and ganking, and it says when I move, you can add an energy and a power. Collin?
Yeah, speaking of cards with infinite lines of text,
Or Alex?
this guy has 3 lines of text.
He does.
And I think this is probably one of the best cards we've seen in Fury so far. I'm a big fan of this guy. I do fear designs like this because there's already, I think one of the first things I said when this guy got previewed in our chat was, this is a line of text that exists for infinite combos because there's no limit on how many times you can make this mana. And sure enough, there's already an infinite combo with him. I won't walk it through for you, but there is a 4-card infinite with this guy to make infinite tokens. So I think you do want to be careful with cards like this, especially now that he's got built-in deflect and ganking. But I think this guy's solid. I'm glad they finally made a 4-might for 4 cost champion that did cost a power, and rightfully so. This guy definitely needs it. But I think this guy's solid. A big fan of him. I think there's a lot of application to what he does, and yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give this card. Where do I want to put this card? I'm gonna give this card an 8. I think this card's solid.
Yeah, I'm not quite as high on this card as you are. Obviously, at least until he gets a little bit more of a consistent thing, because that infinite that Alex mentioned is it also requires a very specific battlefield right now, so you could only do it 1 of 3 games, even in this. And for those wondering at home, it's Jin, Facebreaker, Fiora, and Eye of the Herald. I think that's what the card is. Yeah, Eye of the Herald on Treferian War Camp. So that's your 4-card infinite. You can figure out why it's infinite at home if you'd like, but it's obviously not very consistent and is in a pretty bad color combination. But as Alex said, this is the type of card that we're going to look back on like a few sets down the line and we're like, man, how did they ever print this card? And, out of decks like Purple, where you can ride the Windless for functionally free because you just move them, you get your power, you ride to the other side, get your energy, get your power, you go back home, and you've got a Falling Stars worth of resources that you can play for free. Is pretty crazy. But it is a very contested spot. We've seen a lot of chosen champions at this cost that he's got to compete with, and I think he does really only work when you have a bunch of movement shenanigans, which is specifically out of red purple. So I think,
yeah, I don't have too much more to add, but I think I'm more in the 7 camp as well. I think the card's just very strong. The power cost is warranted. This is probably one of the 4-for-4s that it does warrant a power cost, but I do think like it's just a very competitive slot. I don't know if this is going to be seeing play outside of like a chosen champion zone. Maybe in some red purple decks if you're doing ride the wind shenanigans, but I just feel like yeah, I just don't know where this guy's home is, even though he reads really well. Next up, we've got Katarina Reckless for 5 energy and a power. This is a 5-might unit that says when you hide a card, ready me, and when you play a card from face down, deal 2 to an enemy unit.
I don't really understand this. I guess Katarina is not really a stealthy champion. She's like a snowbally assassin where she gets a bunch of resets when you kill something. So I don't really understand the lore on this one, but maybe that's what Hidden is supposed to be, is all about assassins and all that. That being said, the card sucks. This is a 5-for-5 that with 5 might that they printed a million times and never actually does anything, and these are cards like Eon that have much stronger effects than this is. I will give her a 3 generously because she does theoretically have the ability to like move around a lot, but she better be very thankful for that 3 because she's probably closer to a 2. It's just like you're hiding cards to ready her to like move her out, but then you hid the card, so you need something there to contest anyways. Like, I guess you can combine this with the 2-drop from earlier that deals 2 damage, plus the Scattering to deal 4 damage, and then she just gets mopped up by a Falling Star or Singularity or something like that. So assuming they even let you get to that point. So yeah, I'll give her a 3.
I think this card could have used with ganking. That would have been really good. She conquers, she sets something at her battlefield. Maybe there's something, you play something else there and she can gank over, or like you like just like a little bit of utility. Like, I understand it sounds counterintuitive because okay, you gank away from the hidden card, so but you can leave something else there potentially. Like, I don't know, there could have been a better way to design this. I don't think she's quite that bad. Like, I do like the idea if you're controlling a battlefield, you hold the battlefield, you play her, then you set something on that battlefield because you were going to do that anyway. She readies, you deal 2 damage. 2 damage anywhere when you flip is nice. Like, combining this with some of the already existing hiddens where we could get extra damage is kind of nice. But I'm going to give her a 5. I think she has some. I do agree this 5 for 5 stat line is tiring and without a real great effect, it's pretty much useless. But I don't think she's that terrible. Like, I'm going to give her a 5 here.
Yeah, I just think this. I mean, this slot is so competitive. Obviously, we're trying to talk about these in a vacuum, but like, it's just so hard to imagine ever playing this over like Darius Treferian, right? Like this, this slot is so competitive. It's hard to build these 5 for 5s with the power cost and actually like balance them in a good way. I do agree with Alex. I think ganking would have been a much better line of text on this card. Like, especially we've seen like there's a lot of 2 cost like hidden cards and stuff that, hey, if this 2 cost hidden card was sitting in my hand in the late game when it's really bad, I wouldn't mind like burning it just to get an untap and a gank, and then maybe I want to burn another one and bring her back home. Like, obviously you don't typically want to be burning that many cards in this game, given that there isn't a ton of draw, especially in red. But yeah, I mean, at least it would give her some amount of utility. I do think that the fact that her 2 damage can hit anywhere is kind of nice. Like, if you are, posted up with a double hold with 2 hiddens, like you can kill a Noxus Hopeful anywhere or something like that. Like, that's kind of cool, but I just don't think this card's that great. It's more like a 4 for me. Next up, we've got Rengar Unseen for 4 energy and a power. This is a 4-might unit with keyword soup. Accelerate, Assault 2, Deflect, and Ganking. He's also a cat.
Also a cat. I do love me some keyword soup. I mean, this is a good slew of it. This is a great mix of soup of the day. You got deflect and ganking, that's great. Accelerate, those things all go well together. Assault 2, because fuck it, why not? I think as far as chosen champs go, your other Rengar is much better, but I still do think this kind of has some upside. Like, this is a contender almost with Darius. Unfortunately, he does cost a power naturally, which I think is one of the biggest things holding him back from true greatness, is that like, this could just be a natural 6 accelerate, or natural 5 mana, 6 might for 5 mana accelerate, so it could contest with Darius in that regard. It does have the ganking, so it like kind of works in the same way Darius does, and it doesn't require you to play 2 cards. It has deflect, which Darius does not have. Again, the biggest issue here is just one. It only has 4 might naturally, so it's 1 less than Darius, and Darius can actually still trigger on your opponent's turn to get the buff, which does come up more than you'd think it does. And then the other thing is paying the extra power. All these things being said, I actually think this card is still kind of decent and could see some play. I'm going to give this card a 6 out of 10. It's not incredible by any means. Again, the power cost is really what holds it back, but I think the mix of deflect and ganking plus the accelerate is just enough for me to go, this card can't be totally useless, right? So
I'm going to take the opposite approach. I think this card is totally useless. I just don't see what world this card like exists that is actually relevant when Darius exists. So this card is so much worse than Darius that for like 1 less cost, the only additional thing we're getting is a deflect, which, like, great, our opponent has to pay a power to kill our 4 cost thing that we paid a power for anyways. Like, come on, I don't know. This is very strange. It's just, I think there are maybe other colors that this card would be fantastic in, but Fury is not one of them, just because this is already such a hotly contested slot. Like, am I ever playing this over a Jhin or a Darius? No. Am I ever playing this over Kai'Sa? No. Like, so yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say I don't think this card's gonna see any play. Like Alex said, even in the Rengar chosen champ zone, I think that's just, you're just gonna play the other one. So this might be the one I'm wrong on. I'm gonna give it a 3. I know that's
Oof.
egregious, but
Ooh.
I cannot stand this card because it's just maybe it's because like Darius exists, but I think this card's going to be completely unplayable.
Oh, 3 is rough, but yeah, I think I'm more in like I wanted to give this card about a 5. I think that it's just such a competitive slot. I do think all of those keywords are like good, but if I'm having to accelerate this out, I'm having to pay 2 power for that. Like that is a lot. It is coming in for 6, but like it's just yeah, I just don't know where this slots in. Like I didn't even know where Jin slots in, and I think Jin is a better card than this. So I'm just like, well, yeah, where does this slot in if Jin doesn't slot in? Because Jin has 2 of these lines of text, and the other 2 lines of text, I feel like an energy and a power are a lot better than like Assault 2. Accelerate is a real line of text though, so I do have to give him that. It's a 5 for me. Next up, we've got Undying Legion, 3 for 3. With Legion, you may play me from your trash for 3 energy and a power.
Yeah, I guess this is like our first realm into infinite recursion in quotation marks, especially in this game because you always draw a spell. So like we've seen cards like this in Magic where you know you have to play something else, but you don't always draw a spell in that game. Here you always play a card, so you can always trigger the Legion, so you always have access to the Undying Legion. But this game is so tempo oriented that I don't know that there's ever a world in which we can just be paying 3 for 3 might units to like do what. Maybe there will be a point in the future where this game becomes a lot more grindy and this sort of effect actually does something. But in the meantime, I don't really see it. So I'll give it a 3.
So here's a question I have: can I keep playing it on the same turn if it dies? Right?
Yeah, why
I
not?
could.
Yeah.
I could see this being used in some sort of combo where, like, I understand it costs 3, but like if you had a way to like generate like 3 mana, reborn this, sack it, like I don't know, things like this that can be played ad nauseum. Always this like in my mind says combo piece, and like at best it's a crazy combo piece. At worst, it's like a piece of sideboard tech in the future. I don't know. I think you're being a little harsh on this. It probably doesn't see much play, but I just think this it's like you said, it's the first step into like this type of effect, and I think I want to give this card a 5. I think the potential is there. It's probably not there right now, but I could see where this card maybe in the future finds itself some home in a sideboard somewhere. So
Yeah, I think playing a single card is not a big ask. So like this is just recurring body all the time. It's probably like in the 5 range for me as well. I do think it's still at base rate, it's still a 3 for 3, which obviously that's a much more competitive slot than it was in set 1. But I do think this line of text is fairly relevant, and like being able to never run out of dudes seems like it might be pretty good. You can pitch these with Zon Warren to like get value where you're actually playing these from the bin and you didn't like actually have to go down a card overall. So I see some cute cases for it. We'll see.
Maybe I'm just the downer with all of my low scores.
Colin's
That's
never
right, guys.
not amused. He is not amused.
Yeah.
So we've got Zareth Freed for 5 energy and 5 might. This card reads: a fury power and exhaust me, deal 3 to a unit. Use this ability only while I'm at a battlefield.
Yeah, they're starting to branch into this realm of units with activated abilities, which I kind of like. Gives them this modal thing where you can either just be a vanilla unit or you can start activating this ability. That being said, I don't think Fury is really known for holding and wanting to just like ping stuff off for 3 damage, but I mean maybe there'll come some world where that's the case. The issue with holding battlefields and trying to set up something like that is like maybe if this guy had backline or something like that to help protect him. But It's just
Exactly.
really hard to hold battlefields, man. And like our payoff is that we get to tap our guy to deal 3 to something. Like that's pretty mid to say the least. Given the 2 previous cards that I gave a 3, I'm probably gonna have to give this guy like a 2 because 9 times out of 10 he's just gonna be a 5 for 5 vanilla, and you cannot really build around this guy. So yeah, I think it's just a 5 for 5 vanilla with very minor upside.
I think 2's kind of harsh.
yeah, I'm gonna give him a 3. I'm kind of with Colin on this. He's pretty great, not great. I mean, I think he could be a little bit better than that, but like he doesn't even like come in. He doesn't even come in ready or nothing. Like he could have had the line of text that Vex's signature unit does, where you play him to a battlefield, he comes in ready, so at least he can be used immediately and played to a battlefield. But yeah, red's not really a hold color, hold domain, so I'll give it a 3.
Yeah, I know our friend George G was making fun of this card quite a bit. He is not a fan. Yeah, I think it's like a 3 for me as well. Maybe, I don't even think if we got a Zareth like legend that you would ever want this to be your chosen champ. Like, this card is just not really doing all that much. The only thing it has going for it, and the main reason I'm not like throwing it down to a 1 or a 2, is just because it doesn't cost me power. So it's just like a 5 for 5 with some line of text, but
throwing it a bone there. But this is a 5 for 5 vanilla. It has no text. It has a blank text box. Like, it's just insane. But
yeah,
there's like one world in which this text actually ends up mattering, and yeah, it's never happening really.
I'm just gonna double it up with my Lotus spell.
Oh, there you go. Now we're doing real things.
We're cooking.
And
next up, we've got Inviolus Vox for 8 and 2 power. This is an 8 might unit. This is when I conquer, give a friendly unit +8 this turn. 8's all around.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. I mean, I can see this like in an Aurora deck where you like are in the back. This is like maybe fine, but I don't know what world where you have 2 guys on your board. This is one of them in an Aurora deck, and then they're both moving, and the other one needs the pump. This kind of seems like seems like a worse, like a bad. This just seems like bad White Flame Protector to me. I don't know. I'm a little more insulted the rarity that they wasted on this guy. Also, I don't know why he needed to cost 2 power. In fact, the more I read this guy, the more upset I get. I'm going to give him a 2 now because I'm so upset reading him. He's like, yeah, he's pretty. I mean, I guess he can upgrade some of your like. Think of like the composition of deck that plays this, like, because for this to really get value, like, it's not in an Aurora deck, right? Because the scenario I just described doesn't, like, maybe he pumps a Ferris Forerunner token and that's good, but like you have to have 2 battlefields, one of which is not conquered yet. He has to conquer one, and then you have to another guy in the back that's going to conquer the other side. No, the more I think about it, you know what? I'm going to give him a 2. Fuck him.
Yeah, I was about to say I was considering a 1, so but I think a 2 is warranted. His only use case that I see is that you send him into a battlefield. He's like kind of a bad by the wind. You send him into a battlefield, you get the conquer effect, then you ride to the other side as a 16 might because he buffs himself, or you can, if we're just in Fury, we can do the give him ganking with our 2-drop plus the Gen spell that readies a unit, and then we can gank over for 16 on that. But like, are we really paying 8 for N2 power for an 8 might to maybe do this discounted via the wind combo that also requires other cards? Like, no, obviously we're not building our deck around that when we can just play via the wind for 2 energy. Like, so yeah, this card is not good.
Okay, well, I am the guy who likes the big dumb idiot cards, but I do think that this card is not very good. I don't know if it's necessarily like it's probably between a 2 or a 3. I mean, it's definitely not a card I wanted to see.
Our community rating is a 2.5, so it is quite literally between a 2 or a 3.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think like the spots where this card are really good are like just tough to like. Yeah, okay, if I conquer on an empty side, and then that gives 8 might to my base units, so that gives them the ability to conquer on the other side. That's kind of cool. You can also pump yourself if you like need to do a really big challenge or something. But yeah, I mean, this guy's just not very good. There's so many more cards in this slot that have dragon keyword even that are just better. So yeah, I'm not really sure where this card's gonna see play.
It won't. That's the neat part.
And limited seems like maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, great and limited. It's just what I want from my epic cards.
Oh yeah. So Pike Dockside Butcher is our next epic for 3 energy. This is a 2 might unit. It has hidden, it has ganking. You may pay a power as an additional cost to play it, and when you play it, if you pay the additional cost, ready me and give me +2 might this turn.
So when I talked last time, and I remember I said, oh, if this guy was a 4 might that readied when he came in play and cost a power. Well, Pike is actually the card I described of that guy, except he has ganking and hidden. And I did promise that if that was the case, it might be a 6 or a 7, but this card is probably, like, reasonably, this guy is, unfortunately, because he's a base 2, he doesn't get that pump all the time. This guy is probably reasonably a 6. Like, I actually think this guy is kind of okay. The problem is that the ganking is kind of useless because what is the point of ganking if he's 2 might? I guess if the other side is clean, then maybe there's some use to this, but like I don't understand why like ganking seems like such a weird keyword on a guy like this because he's never winning a fight on a gank. He's only able to gank into an empty battlefield. Hidden also feels a little odd to me. Why does this guy have I get you can pay the additional cost, so that's cool, but like I don't know. I'll give this guy like a 6 and maybe that's too generous, but like yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think
okay.
those things are supposed to combine together where you like flip it, you hide it, and then you get back around to your turn after they did an attack into your hidden. Then you flip it off the hidden, you pay the power, it comes in ready as a 4 might, and then you gank over to the other side to score. Is like obviously the intention with this card. The issue with that is that like this is also I think your chosen champion for the Pike deck, and the Pike deck also is one that's very weird where I think it's like I just don't I think it's supposed to like do this thing that costs 2 power, and then you pay 1 energy to return it to your hand, and then you hide it again with the gold. But the gold is going to be an entire turn cycle behind, so we're having to spend 3 power in order to do this effect that is just like mediocre at best. Like this whole Pike deck is just insulting to me. Where like I understand where they were going with it, but everything they do just costs like 8 billion power to do what other decks just do for like free over the course of the game anyways. So very strange to me. I'll give it a 4. I think it's very mid. Like the fact that on rate for them from hidden, right, is that they want is a hidden card does 4 might. And this card requires you to pay 2 power in order to just be a hidden card for 4 might. Like ridiculous. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, I definitely don't think you're generating enough gold with the Pike deck to be justifying having to pay 2 power consistently every time you flip this up. And even then, it's just like, it's literally just doing what Teemo does. And like, it only has 1 more might than Teemo as well. Like, this thing dies to incinerate. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't
No, it's
seem
the same
like it
might
wants
as Teemo.
Right. It just doesn't. Isn't Teemo a 1? Right? Teemo's a 1.
Yeah,
It becomes a
oh,
plus
you
3.
mean base.
Yeah.
Teemo's a 1 with +3. This is a 2 with
Yeah,
+2.
yeah.
So.
But
Yeah,
Teemo costs less. Yes, exactly. Teemo only costs the 1
exactly.
power.
And he only costs 2 energy as well, so he's still like a turn 1 play in the worst case when you need it.
Yep. So yeah, it just seems like Pike's a way worse Teemo that has ganking, but on a 2 might unit. So yeah, I mean the utility and the main function of this card to me is just, yes, this is a 3 might 1 power accelerate for 4, and that's like all right. That's like a pretty solid card. Like I just don't think it's a very good card. I'll give it a 5. Next we got Red Brambleback, the red buff. For 4 energy and a power, this is a 4 might unit with accelerate. Your conquer effects for conquering here trigger an additional time, and when I conquer, buff a friendly unit. So it has its own conquer ability.
Yeah, I think that part is pretty nice of it. Unfortunately, it's just buffing a friendly unit, which is like one of the weaker keywords that they have in the game right now, especially out of Fury, because they're not really anything to do with these buffs. I guess if you're like on order as well, you could play some Call the Glories or something like that in order to protect our Brambleback. But it is in that very hotly contested 4 to 5 energy range that also costs the power. That's like 4 to 5 might and just has like a arbitrary effect. I know Alex is a bigger fan of this card than I am because it does have some cute abilities out of like Lucian, for example, to give it the spear, give it the Triforce with the Lucian Sig spell on your red Brambleback, and now you're scoring 6 points or something like that, right? Which is obviously kind of cool, but also out of one very specific deck and requires your opponent to not have any way to stop you. Granted, this guy does have accelerate to come back down if they do like rebuke you or something like that, so there is a little bit of a merit to that. So it is a very unique effect, so for that I'll give it like a 5. I won't be quite as harsh on it as all of his other compatriots in this color combination from this set. But definitely not going to see any realistic play outside of maybe in Lucian.
Yeah, I just think that having a card that triggers conquer effects twice could be serious, like could be a real effect. He's beyond the combo that you just mentioned, which is my main highlight. He is a role filler in any sort of combo deck that has some sort of conquer ability that's very powerful, and I can see where he might fulfill this role. I think having his own conquer effect is kind of just icing on the cake, but accelerate I think matters a lot too, especially in the deck we described with the combo with Lucian. This is actually one of the only ways I believe to like truly OTK your opponent too, is that you can, from 0 points, you can go equip Triforce, equip the spear, accelerate this guy, score 4, Lucian signature spell to the other side, score 4 more. Obviously, that's like a magical Christmas land scenario, but I still do think this card will see play in Lucian, and it's something that definitely helps Lucian a lot. And I do think this guy could definitely be a role filler in the future, especially given his accelerate title. But I'm going to give him a 6 for now. I don't think he's crazy good, but I think he's decent. I think the true thing holding him back again is just the power cost at a baseline. But if this guy didn't have a power cost, he'd probably be pretty insane. So
I wonder with the way that works, would you actually score 5 with 2 Triforces in the spear? Because it says your conquer effects for conquering here trigger an additional time. Or is each Triforce a separate trigger? So it'd be like those, you would get 2 triggers to score a point, and then those would each get double.
1, 2, they double, so 4. Yeah, I guess you would,
And then
right?
you also get the regular.
Yeah, so,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you'd get 5 with double Triforce, or 7 with triple Triforce in the spear. So notably. But yeah, that being said, it's a lot to ask in my mind. So, but who knows? Maybe it will be the case.
Yeah, I think that just even the fact that we're talking about this so early in the game just shows that, like, I would imagine as we get more and more sets, we're gonna get more and more ways to abuse this ability and try to like pull off some crazy combos with conquer abilities. And the fact that this guy can accelerate and make sure that that happens whenever you have those on the board is really strong. And it's nice that, like, yeah, he can also like buff 2 things. He can just distribute out 2+1 tokens, 1 even on himself if he wants. So like he's got some good utility. I think this will be solid in those decks, but basically only playable in like a combo deck. I think I'll give it a 6 as well. And finally, we've got Vi Hothead for 4 energy. This is a 3 might unit with deflect, and for 2 energy and a power, you can double my might this turn.
But this card sucks.
And this is Vi's chosen champ. This is the one you're going to use most likely, right?
Yeah, this card is dog piss. I mean, it just like, it's nice that it itself doesn't cost a power. I don't think they needed to undermight it just because it doubles its might. Now, it's okay, maybe it's not as bad as I'm making it out to be, because it does get to win virtually any fight, and it does have deflect. So that is probably an upside to it. Again, I'm a little pissed that it started at 3, because it's going to cost you, what, 4 energy and 2 power to get it to 12, which is like, okay, fine. Like, it's going to just invalidate all combat. It's probably really good against Kaiser, because they're never going to be able to stop this card. But at a baseline, it just dies to Falling Star, even through the deflect. Not having to pay the power cost, I guess, is nice. Where I do see this card actually shining is if there's some sort of spell that works with your might, where it's like, you score a point for it, like sack a guy, score a point for every like 5 might you have, or there's something that's like deal damage amongst your opponent's board equal to the total might of this. That kind of already sort of exists. But like if it was like a card that said choose a guy, you deal damage equal to the might to their board. So I like see the potential there. But overall, I think this card is not great. It can break any battlefield, which is cool, and then retreat with your Vi Legend, which might be good, but I think the power cost is just, it's so much to ask on something like this. So I outside of the Vi Legend, I think because you can't retreat it immediately, you can't activate this at reaction speed, which I thought was crazy. Maybe that makes it too good, but I'm going to give this card a 4. And that might be I might be being a little harsh here, but I think a 4 is where I'm at with this.
No, I mean, I think, like you said, it will be used in Vi. Will Vi be a good deck? No. But yeah, this is like the meme that we see on a lot of cards in Riftbound, where, like Alex said, we're playing this card for 4 energy. We're using its ability once or twice to double its might, to break a board, to then we also have to do 3 excess damage in order to activate our legend ability. We then get to Red Ear, and then we get to send her home. So, or alternatively, we could pay 3 energy for a 3 might Lucian that just does that for free. Like, I don't understand. This is look what they have to do to imitate a fraction of our power, right? Compared to Lucian. It's just crazy. So that being said, she does escape a little bit of the 4 for 3 clause and having deflect. So at least when your opponent Falling Stars this and your 2-drop without even needing to stupefy it, then you can be at least, you got to pay 1 extra power to win the game here.
Gotcha.
Yeah, gotcha. I know you're going to 4 points and I just lose the game because I don't have any units in play, but you're spending 1 extra power there, bud. So who's the real winner here? I don't know. This card's just bad. I'll give it a 3. I think I'm sorry to all the Vi fans. Super cool artwork, super cool design. There's some world alternative universe where Riftbound is played in such a way that this card is good. It's just not the universe that we live in.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, the fact that this isn't or the reason that this isn't reaction speed or have action speed is because you're supposed to double your might in the way that the deck was designed, right? You're supposed to double your might, use your Violator to untap this because it's clearly doing more than 3 because it used its ability and then come back, but you're paying a power for that every time. It just doesn't feel that good. Even if this had action or reaction, if I was having to pay a power every time I wanted to become a 6, I guess that's what Draven Vanquisher kind of does, right? But I'm also having to pay 2 energy on top of that. This is just nowhere near what Draven Vanquisher was. And, RIP to that guy. But yeah, I think it's a 4 for me. I mean, this is just only going to see play in Vi. It's nice that you have a no power chosen champ, but it sucks that it dies to Falling Star. Many such cases. Thank God for the deflect, or it would probably be a much lower rating for me if it didn't at least have the deflect here.
10 out of 10 on the art though. This is if the Vi Legends had this outfit instead of her cop outfit, I'd be a lot happier with Vi as well. But, yeah. Same. 10 out of 10 on the art.
And that's going to be it for Fury, guys. We'll be back with part 2 soon. If you guys disagree with any of our takes, let us know in the comments below. Let us know what you would have rated the cards. And if you want to see more videos like this, then hit the subscribe button for more, and we will see you guys next time. Challenger TCG is now powered by TopDeck.gg. TopDeck.gg is the tournament software you want to be using when hosting any tournament. It has instant pairings, a robust mobile app, integrated payments, and an easy-to-use interface, all for just $12 a month. You can get a free 14-day trial right now if you want to try out the software, and use promo code CHALLENGER for an additional month free of charge. If you decide you want to keep the software, use promo code CHALLENGER25 for a 25% discount off your yearly subscription plan.